master black belts, quality leaders, and so on. I used to do action workouts and so on. Today, what I want to talk to you about has nothing to do with my corporate part of my life. So what happened when I was a student doing my masters in Canada? I was studying Bhagavad Gita just on my own for just a generic interest. I'll tell you why I was studying, because I'm sure you hear those both extremes. One extreme is you will hear this in an Indian context. Kuch bhi bol do, so people will say, apna Veda mein sab kuch hai. Right? That is one extreme that you hear. Another one is, usme kuch bhi nahi hai. I mean, this is useless, whatever it is from the old times, what to do with it. So I wanted to find out for myself. So this is like my high school days or college days. So I said, okay, let's begin with Bhagavad Gita. So that's how I started. Then I went for my master's to Canada, and I had finished my thesis, and I had some time left and really nothing to do. So I said, okay, let's just go and explore something else beyond engineering. So I went to the humanities library. And how many of you have been to USA universities or US Canada universities and libraries? Okay. Number of you who have been there and visited the libraries, you know how rich those libraries are. Really, really amazing. I mean, if you don't find some book about, say, our Indian heritage in one of the libraries here, you can go to typically any decent university library in America, and more than likely you're going to find it. It is that impressive that a job they do. So I went there, and there were two sets of this Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute, the critical edition of Mahabharata. And what I wanted to check was, now that I had studied Bhagavad Gita for a long time, to see how the same message was repeated in the Mahabharata text. So I opened the Bhishma Parva and just started the first chapter. And this exercise put me on a tangent. Because what I came across, the Bhishma Parva, beginning of a Bhishma Parva, there is a description of Vyasa going to Dhritarashtra and trying to make a final attempt to see if he can stop the war. Now, a number of you at least know Krishna tried going to Hastinapur, and it did not work. So when he's trying to convince Dhritarashtra to see if he can stop it, he talks of many signs like nimitta. The Sanskrit word uses nimitta. And so he talks of many other things, the wind is blowing this way and so on and so forth. But he talks of many astronomy observations, like this planet is near this nakshatra and so on and so forth. Now this was totally new to me. This was 1995. So there is one specific observation that I came across, and I thought, I know this. I didn't know much about astronomy at that time. But I said, I know this. And there was something intriguing about this. Like, and I won't go into the details in just 25 minutes. I'll encourage you, if you're interested, there are lots of 20 plus videos on the YouTube that you can watch. I have written 2 books, if you're interested, you can read those. And I have written more than 400 blog articles just on this subject of ancient Indian history. So you can read those. So that particular reference, where it said Arundhati, star Arundhati, is walking ahead of Vasishtha, and that made me interested in that particular shlok. I did not know astronomy, so I thought it will do a couple of days and I'll finish the mystery, I'll figure it out, what it is. It took me 15 years. Okay, so wrong estimate, wrong prediction. But when I solved it, it made a revolution. Now, of course, you haven't heard my name until now, so you said, okay, if he made a revolution, how come you didn't hear about this guy? It's not so much about me, because not many people are even beyond India. There are a lot of people who take interest in Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata, but you hear India so much, I mean, we have to find time beyond Bollywood and cricket, and then if we get time, we might do this. But what that made a revolution is this, and I call this astronomy poison pill, which acts like this. That particular observation and my solution to it put a restriction on exactly when Mahabharata would have happened. More than that, it puts a restriction when exactly it cannot happen. It has to happen within a certain time period, if that observation has to be astronomically true. And the time period comes out like this. Mahabharata war could not have happened before 11,091 BC. It is that precise. It's not a way. It cannot have happened before 11,091 BCE, which means more than 13,000 years ago. Beyond that, it could not have happened. The other side, the Mahabharata war could not have happened any time after 4508 BCE. So you understand the BC like going before Christ, or BC before Pavan era. So 4500 for simplification plus 2000 years, that is what, 6500? So with a full confidence we can say that Mahabharata war did not happen in last 6500 years. And definitely it happened between that time. Now, in science what happens? We cannot prove anything. We talk about, in common language, we talk about the words like prove something, disprove something. You know what? To disprove something is very difficult. Forget about proving anything. We don't prove it. We think we prove. In science, actually there is nothing that we can prove. All that we can do is corroborate. It tends to say this, like Newton's theory. Newton came up with the theory and everyone thought this is the perfection. There is nothing beyond this. And you know what happened, right? Who falsified Newton's theory? Anyone? Einstein. So people were so convinced that they said, okay, it's just a matter of many great scientists after Newton's 16th, 17th century. They just said all that needs to be done is just we need to find the fine tuning, the number to the least accuracy, and then everything is done, we will know everything. But science, like all of us know the word satyagraha because of Gandhiji, right? But actually, even that's not a correct word. Agraha means like what? Insisting on the truth. But what is the point of insisting on the truth? I mean, you may want the truth, but truth is not given to you as instantaneously. It doesn't come to you, the whole truth in front of you. It doesn't happen. It comes to us in spurts, like iterative fashion. Little bit is given to you at a time. You digest it. Now that little bit of truth that you are becoming aware, it leads to bigger problems. That is how the whole story of science is. Like you started with Ptolemy, which is like Earth at the center and everything is rotating around the Earth. Remember the whole story? Do you know how long it lasted? 1500 years? Do you know why it lasted that long? Not because people did not try. They couldn't come up with anything better. Then Copernicus came, he tried something. Then Kepler came, he improved on Copernicus. Galileo came, Newton improved on Copernicus. And then Einstein took it further. Now, do you think Einstein, whatever Einstein said is the final word? No. We are hoping that something will happen. And so what does that mean? Any day someone will come up with something that is better than Einstein. It is a great thing. Why is that? Someone disproves Einstein. Why that would be a good thing?
We are pushing the frontiers of
bingo. So I mean, you are all teachers, do you guys give brownie points to your students? I do all the time. He gets 20 points, 20 brownie points. Your student do it. Excellent. Because that means we have made a further progress. So after I did this, I found out this interval based on one astronomy observation out of Mahabharata. Then I just went through the list and I made a list of more than 200 specific astronomy observations from the Mahabharata text. So this one reference says not anything after 4500, anything before 11,000. But what about other observations? And so over a period of time, I could test all those observations, and that led me to one specific year, which was 5561 BC, 5561 BC. That is for the year of Mahabharata war. So once I published my book in 2011 called When Did the Mahabharata War Happen? The Mystery of Arundhati, because of that Arundhati thing. And then of course people suggested now, people feel, okay, now we found the guy, Okay, how about you do it about Ramayana, So I tried Ramayana, doing it, and I could successfully do it. I think I did it successfully, and I'll tell you what people need to do. So in 2014 I published the book, The Historic Ram. In fact, the way I came up with the title, I'm not very good at the artistic aspect of anything. So I know hospitality is a big industry. I'm a bad guy for that, Nothing artistic. So second time I sent a request through social media to a number of my friends saying, please suggest me a title. Okay, and the Historic Ram is been suggested by one German professor. Okay, because I told them, I threatened them, I said, if you don't suggest me a title, that's the title of my second book is going to be, can you guess? The first book title was When Did the Mahabharata War Happen? I said the title would be When Did the Ramayana Happen? So somebody suggested, no, please don't give that title, Like, the old Hindi movie, Albert Pinto ko gussa kyun aata hai? Like such a long title. He said, please don't give those long titles, So the historic Ramayana, I came up with the timeline of, again, the Ram Ravan Yuddha, the specific year 12,209 BC, so more than 14,000 years. Now what happens is this a final word? I don't think it's a final word. Okay? But there are certain restrictions. So for example, you go from 11,000 to 4,500 for Mahabharata, 6,500 years. Somebody can come up with some other year and say, hey, this is better. Nilesh, what were you thinking? What did you drink? This is better than yours. I'm looking forward for that. So far, no one has come forward. But nobody can go after 4508 BC and before 11,000. And that's not just because of Arundhati. Because so I published those two books. I'm ready to publish my third book called Bhishma Nirvana. And totally away from this Arundhati, I found additional 100 references in Mahabharata text. Now, there is a reason why I found 100 references. And therefore, challenging any existing claim is a very good thing. So I thought it was done. I had done my work. And somebody said, no, but hold on. We don't agree with you on this one. So they started making some objections. And to respond to that, I would go back to Mahabharata. So I ended up reading Mahabharata 20 times. Just to respond to them. And I came up with additional 100 different references. And what they show, is just like Arundhati gave me that time period, Arundhati observation. The Bhishma Nirvana observations, and I wasn't sure what we were going to do today, so I don't have my presentation, but I'm going to give a couple of presentations next 2 days. And so there are very simple assertions that you can make based on Mahabharata reference. And when you combine that with the knowledge of astronomy, it also gives a period even more tighter than what Arundhati gave, like 11,000 to 4,500. The Bhishma Nirvana gives like from 5,100 to 7,200, like approximate period of 2,000 years. So that's what I did. So now, what is the context of this? I mean, okay, so you figured out the date of Mahabharata war, so what? You figured out a year for Ramayana, so what? What do we do with it? Anyone, before I share my thoughts, like why the chronology is important? What are your thoughts? Why do you think? I mean, if you think it's not important, it's waste of time, I perfectly understand. Okay? I'm a sales guy, by the way, all my life. People would close the door of their office in my face, and that's perfectly fine. 8 months later, I have 80% of their business. That's my 16 years of record. So if you disagree, that's perfectly fine. But if some of you have other thoughts as to why the chronology of something like Ramayana, Mahabharata, some of our events of our culture, why would that be important to know when possibly it happens? Anyone? No? Okay. Sorry. Okay, what happens is this. When it comes to technology, like think of astronomy, that is just very obvious because I work in astronomy. But when it comes to navigation, when it comes to mathematics, when it comes to medicine, like Sushrut, for example, when it comes to agriculture, all of this, and who invented it first, who discovered it first, where did it go from one place to another? And what you'll find in the Western world is that, if you start with why Western world? Just here. If you start studying the history of science, what do you hear? Where did it begin? History of science? Science, where did it begin? The way we are taught in school. Greece, thank you very much. Anyone else? That's correct answer, Greece. Greece, Rome, Greece, those are the words here. What is the timeline for Greece? When was the Greece culture was at peak? 4th BC, if you go back to further back, maximum 800 BC. Okay. Now, against that, start putting this 4,500, 55, 61 BC, 12,209 BC. Sushrut Samhita, Sushrut? Everyone has heard the name Sushrut, the expert, right? Medicine. Right inside the Sushrut Samhita, there are astronomy references. Like he's just simply talking about don't eat yogurt in this month or something. I'm just making it like this because it's a cold month. Now you can use this and use the astronomy to actually find out the time of Sushrut Samhita, and then it comes with 2 times. The reason it gives you two different periods is Sushruta Samhita is what? It's a medical book, right? So sometimes you may write it and you may come up with another edition, like or some knowledge or something like this. The time period comes to 4000 BC, another comes to 2000 BC for Sushruta Samhita. Okay, some of the astronomy descriptions that are there in Mahabharata or Ramayana, it refers to the precision of equinoxes. There is the Earth's axis that goes through a specific motion. And if you look at the Western science, do you know what they will say? That was discovered 2000 years ago by Hipparchus. 2000 years ago. And of course, he got the number wrong, but that's okay. I mean, I'm not trying to put him down. He discovered it at least, nobody else cared about it. So when you start putting the context for any of the discoveries, any of the knowledge system, okay, suddenly the chronology becomes important. It becomes very much important. Now, I just gave you this technical stuff, but what about the softer skills like languages? In fact, if I'm saying the Ramayana is 12,209 BC and Sanskrit existed, Rigveda is before that. Okay, and I've done research on the river Saraswati, and it just matches with these timelines. The drying up of river Saraswati. You're familiar with river Saraswati? Yeah, there is one Saraswati here too, and actually the Saraswati did come here. I mean, there are paleo channels from Siddhapur, Patan, that they come down here too. But I'm talking of some of the research now, the parts of Pakistan, because it went there and turned back. That's how it is. You can actually look at river Saraswati data from the geology. Actually, I'm going to present at Kurukshetra in the Saraswati conference. And those timelines perfectly match with my timeline for Mahabharata, my timeline for Ramayana. Okay. And so right now I'm working on Mahabharata, Ramayana, Rigveda, river Saraswati. But you know what? It's not so much like, okay, in a religious sense, try to figure out the dates and that's the end of it. Actually, what we want to do is, there is so much other stuff. I mean, that I cannot cover in 25 minutes, but I cannot even cover in 2 days or 3 days. In fact, I don't know everything that is there in Mahabharata and Ramayana. But there is so much. I know there is a lot, but there is a lot more that I don't know. But why? I mean, if we want to bring this, we have to bring that wisdom in such a way that it becomes useful to us. So if you are doing in MBA, now some people try to do that, Chanakya Niti, MBA, which is good, at least bringing that awareness. But unless and until we make this stuff useful to people, people will have no motivation to go and look at Mahabharata and Ramayana. Because mostly what happens, looking at Mahabharata is like what? Oh, that's like going backward, You being backward. So what are you reading? Mahabharata. Oh boy, what's wrong with you, Or Ramayana, and what's wrong with you? Why we might be saying this, in other places you'll be amazed what they're doing. Like, do you hear how many of you have heard the name Rajiv Malhotra? No? Okay. So just I mean, he has done a lot of work, covered a lot of work in terms of how much knowledge, Indian system knowledge is being appropriated. So, I mean, in Gujarat, I mean, what is that? Help me. The meditation system, certain type of meditation that you do. Vipassana meditation. Okay. So Vipassana meditation. How many of you have done Vipassana meditation? Thank you. How many of you have not done Vipassana meditation? Raise your hand. Including myself. So I'm not saying that I have done it already. But you know what? Some guy from Harvard took it. Okay. And just did, and now what do you call? Like it's a mindfulness, awareness, and so on and so forth. Now, once it makes that circle and comes back, okay, with whatever enthusiasm we go for a Pizza Hut and KFC, we will go and help us to. Now it's not Vipassana, it's a mindfulness. Oh, I love that. I went there yesterday night and it was so good. And many times it is stripped off of the key things. And that is happening everywhere. That is happening for everything, for medicine. I'll just say one more thing quickly and we'll stop. And I hope that you ask questions, you challenge me. Are you nuts? Nilesh, what are you thinking? 5561. There were no human beings. We were all monkeys jumping on the tree. I mean, please bring in whatever questions you have. But Kumbhakarna story from Ramayana. Everyone knows that Kumbhakarna story. There is a mind-body conference that has been planned. I don't know exactly when in Delhi. And I don't know if they will accept the paper or not, but I want to submit the paper on Kumbhakarna. Kumbhakarna and Klein-Levin syndrome. We were talking as we were driving from Ahmedabad. Kumbhakarna and Klein-Levin syndrome. Klein, one scientist, Klein, doctor, and Levin, and they just gave the name Klein. See, the Western people are very good at giving the names. Quickly their names, We have to get comfortable. We have to get very comfortable. So like in G, working for it, and in Six Sigma, there are multiple different methods that I developed. Now, those are not methods. I mean, in our Indian sense, what's the big deal? But I had learned this. I immediately call it Armstrong Oak ranking method of something. And then people use it. It becomes a OR, like a short form, OR ranking method and stuff like that. It's very important. So something you think it's something new, something interesting you have done, next to it put a TM capital, trademark. Okay? But so it's a Klein-Levin syndrome. And what I did is, so if you hear, what do you think? When you heard the story of Kumbhakarna, 6 months he's sleeping, sometimes 6 months, and then 1 month he's away, 1 day he's away, 1 month he's away, depending on the story. What was your thinking? I mean, you heard that story. Please, I mean, I really want the answer. Like when mine was the same thing. When you heard that story, what were you thinking? What this could be? जब हम पुराण में वगैरह पढ़ते हैं ऐसा स्टोरी महाभारत टीवी पे दिखाते हैं तो what is our initial reaction? श्राप हुआ. Yes, very good. Who said that? Okay, 20 brownie points. Okay, please. I'm sorry. You talk, you get brownie points. Okay, what else? Shrap is correct. And that's a great one. It has a relevance for Klein-Levin syndrome. How many of you thought it's an exaggeration? Means, ठीक है, उसको थोड़ा problem होता होगा, 7 दिन नहीं सोता होगा, right? But it's an exaggeration. I also thought the same thing. What was happening was, I told you, I think I'm chemical engineer by background, and I was working on some creams, like for jet lag. I was traveling 100% worldwide, at a certain point. And one of my business partner, Michel Lavis from France, he was also traveling. So we came up with the idea, how many of you know Kailash Jivan here? Okay, so Kailash Jivan, I used to use Kailash Jivan, but the smell like Western guys, what is? All right, that's the end of my talk. Thank you. So they didn't like the smell. So we actually combined the Ayurveda and aromatherapy together and basically made a cream. Because it has to do with the jet lag and sleep and whatnot, that is also an interesting story. We actually made it like, in marketing. Again, you teach here marketing, right? So we make it a focus on a certain group and so on. And so our group was folks international Maine traveler, because we were like that. But you know what? Maine thought if they travel a long distance and they drink a beer, that takes care of their jet lag. Okay, so do you know who happened to be our interested audience? Ladies who are anywhere from 30 to 55. So when we were giving random samples for people to try, they were willing to try. Men had a problem putting a cream on this, so it didn't work. In that context, I was reading about the sleep, all the sleep-related issues and sleep disease. And there I read one case study of a 14-year-old boy. When I read that case study, at night I was reading, and immediately something came to me and said, I have read this story somewhere. And quickly I realized that there was a lot of similarity with Kumbhakarna. So I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I did a quick survey of Indian folks there. Like I randomly picked 22 people and asked them, what do you know about Kumbhakarna? So obviously everyone could say that he slept a long time and he ate a lot and drank a lot and he was very brave. But there are many aspects of him that are there in the Valmiki Ramayana, but ordinary people don't know. I did not know. So I started writing everything about Kumbhakarna. I wrote down all the Kumbhakarna characteristics. Then I wrote down all the Klein-Levin syndrome characteristics and I put them together. Now, when I sent to some Sanskritist in India, they were not interested. They just laughed at it. They did not even respond. I sent it to 3 places. I don't remember the name in France, but they're also very famous for these sleep-related diseases. Then another is a Stanford University. I'm sure everyone has heard it. They have a sleep program. And the third is a John Hopkins. They also have a good program. All the 3 people, they are the top in their sleep disease. They all responded. These are all non-Indian folks. They all responded. Actually, all of them said that they had heard something, that kind of character. They did not know the name Kumbhakarna. In some Indian myth, that's what they had heard. And so when I said, okay, I'm going to finally write the paper, I gave them some basic data. Actually, there is a data that there are real cases who sleep for up to 3 months. So come on. Now, if you can 3 months, I can extend it to 6 months. That's not such a big deal, Okay, so actually I wrote that, and I have not sent it to them yet because I have to publish it. But they are all interested in getting a copy of it. I mean, these are the real folks, real medical practitioners, real doctors. So what I'm saying is, you have to look at that wisdom, pull it, and make it useful. Now, I just give as an example. Then only we will go. Then we say, it's my stuff. Now people want to relate to that. So then it becomes useful. So unless it becomes useful, we will not find the reason to preserve it or read it ourselves. Once we start seeing the benefit of it or how advanced some of the stuff is, we will not feel backward if you have to go and read about it. So others are reading it. We have a choice whether we want to read it or not. So I'll stop on that. And if you have any few questions, I would love to respond to them.
All right. How do you think that we can divide this ancient knowledge and bring it back to the mainstream?
How can we take this? Yeah. What can we do?
Or how can we contribute?
Right. So, I mean, first thing, the very fact, I don't know if you got a circular saying that you better show up like, or it was left to you as a choice. But if it was left to you as a choice, and then you still came, that is your first step. I mean, the very fact you are here, it's the very fact you are participating and being part of it. That is a step number one. Another thing is, I mean, it is very true. Mahabharata, Ramayana possibly exists because they are stories. But if you start reading Indian literature, say Puran or some Yoga Sutra, something like that, and if you don't have any background, Rigved, and everyone feels like, अरे भाई एक बार तो ना Rigved अपना पढ़ना चाहिए. Someone feels पता नहीं है लोग बोलते हैं. If you start reading, I can assure you, in less than 5 minutes, you are going to be bored to death, and you will stop reading it. अग्नि मिले पुरोहितम देवस्नाचा अग्नि है क्या करते हैं चलो अभी मूवी जाते हैं I mean that's what you will feel. The reason is, unless it's amazing thing, by the way, unless you have a context, studying is difficult. So to answer your question, we have to find the context. For example, if you think take your MBA program finance, I'm sure you do it. GDP, how many of you know that until 1700 AD, like 300 400 years ago, that India and China together contributed to 50% of the world's GDP. How many of you knew that before I said this here? Okay. 52%, guys. Now, when that first study came by Ron, from a Belgian scientist, and it was for a different reason, the Western, of course, we won't believe it, right? But Westerners also did not believe, the one who had commissioned the study. So they got Angus Madison, another guy, says, hey, can you check Byron's work and tell us what it is? Angus Madison went even further back to all the way 2000 years to 0 AD. And what he found was even a better picture for India. At many times, even India was doing a lot better than China, like literally world power. Okay, so now you have against this context. So I'm going to bring it to this. Now, what is it that allows us? I mean, again, GDP is all about business and finance and wealth creation. Think of the two things, especially in the old days. Of course, the industry. I mean, the whole Harappa civilization, Sindhu Saraswati, the pearls and what a fine jewelry and so on and so forth. I mean, very appropriate for Gujarat, with the diamond cutting and Surat, diamond cutting and whatnot. But the navigation and agriculture. I mean, in the past, if you go navigation, trade, commerce, and agriculture, those were the ways of generating wealth. Now, if you look at our literature, I mean, I just call it ancient narration or ancient literature, you will find amazing information about navigation. Like there is one lady that she works with me, Rupa Bhati. She's an architect out of Gandhidham in Gujarat. So I could take our civilization with a solid data, testable data to 26,000 years, but I couldn't go beyond that for a different reason. She has broken that sound barrier or time barrier. She has actually found a way, some of the references, to take it to like 28,000, 30,000 BC, which is 30,000 plus years of Indian history. And again, every time you go there, do you know what you find? You find navigation, you find astronomy. Navigation. So astronomy is required for navigation. Astronomy is also required for agricultural cycles. And so on. So I mean, we find the context, then we can start making people interested in it. So pick one topic, study on it, start sharing. And you know, it doesn't have to be like a lecture like this. You know, social meetings we do all the time. Like on the weekend, we invite people, right? Just whatever little that you know, you start sharing. And you know, initially they will think it's crazy. Actually, many people on the Facebook. How many of you are on the Facebook? Yeah.
Most
Okay.
all.
So what happens? You know, this. I mean, these are people of Indian origin, and they are sharing those experiences with me, like my work. But I'm just a small guy with a small area of research. There are many others like me. When they are doing it, and it's Mehta, like Dr. Mehta. So he says when they have a social gathering at their place or wherever he goes, and so when some topic comes, like India may catch a eye, whatever that happens, and you know, as soon as he opens his mouth, his wife goes like, "Oh my God, he's going to start talking about this," you know. Okay, that will happen. But you know what he found? Initially, he felt like that. He said, okay, should I do it or let it go? Let's just stop. What is the new Hindi movie and something like this. But over time, he found that people, I mean, our people, our own people, are very interested. But most of the time, what they get is either like everything is in the Veda, including Coca-Cola, right? Or there is nothing. There is nothing, I mean, we are wasting time. So these, we have to avoid the extremes. Alrighty? That is that. If you don't ask questions, then I will ask you questions. Okay, well, thank you so much.